Welcome to NT News. I'm Sarah. Today we have Alyssa, Brady, Brandon, Charlotte, Gianna, Emery, Vivian, Caleb, and I who will be talking about some very interesting facts about our topics. First we have Alyssa and her amazing information about German Shepherds.
Thank you, Soraya. Have you heard of a dog called a German Shepherd? Well, I have, and today I'm going to tell you about them. A fun fact is they're the fourth most common dog breed in the world. First, I'm going to tell you about their appearance. Second, I'm going to tell you about their diet. And last of all, I'm going to tell you about their personality. After you hear this, you will fall in love with them. In conclusion, German Shepherds are great dogs. First, I'm going to tell you about their appearance. Male Shepherds stand 24 to 26 inches tall. Females stand just under at 22 to 24 inches tall. That's the size of a wolf. They usually weigh between 75 to 95 pounds. They either have reddish black fur, tan and black, sometimes all black, or even big color shepherds, which appear mostly black. In conclusion, they do look great. For the second topic, I'm going to talk about their diet. German Shepherds need a scheduled feeding time. The puppies need 3 meals till they are 6 months old. Then they move on to 2 meals a day. Then, when you get a German Shepherd, you need to keep them on the food they were on before. Then, as they get older, they will need to get put on other food. You should ask your vet what the best food is for your dog. They will need a well-balanced diet and a rich protein and fat content food. In conclusion, they are very specific when it comes to food. Then I'm going to talk about their personality. German Shepherds are very strong, and you can usually see their muscles on their back legs. They are also very loyal, and they will listen to you no matter what. They are also very protective. They will guard you and your family no matter what the cost is. In the end, they will do whatever it takes to protect you. In conclusion, German Shepherds can make great family and guard dogs. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I wish I had a German Shepherd.
Next up, we have Brady talking about Jamaica.
Thank you, Caleb. Jamaica is an island country of the West Indies. It is the third largest island in the Caribbean Sea after Cuba. Jamaica is about 146 miles long and varies from 22 to 51 miles wide. It is situated about 100 miles northeast of the nearest point on the mainland. Jamaica's national capital is Kingston. The island is known for its diverse ecosystem, including stomped elm forests on the highest peaks, rainforests in the valleys, savannas, and dry, sandy areas that support only cacti and other plants. The elm forest is about 20% of the island's total landmass. The National Stadium in Kingston is the major venue for soccer and track and field. Soccer has challenged cricket's popularity in Jamaica since 1998 when Jamaica's national team, the Reggae Boys, qualified for the World Cup finals in France. Here are some facts about Jamaica's Caribbean Sea. Despite being 6 times smaller than the smallest ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea is home to 14% of the world's reefs. The Caribbean Sea is a body of water southeast of the Gulf of Mexico and adjacent to the Atlantic Ocean. Jamaica is a very cool things with lots of things to see and do. Back to the studio.
Wow, I didn't know Jamaica is so long.
Next up we have Charlotte talking about snakes.
Thank you, Soraya. Some people believe that snakes are easy to call scary and creepy just because there's a chance you may get bitten by one. But little do they know, the snakes are just trying to defend themselves like we learn to do every day. A snake's life can be told in many different ways, depending on which snake you are talking about. When you're talking about a certain snake, you might want to mention the type. I can't imagine trying to figure out what type of snake you're talking about out of the 3,000 species of snakes. You heard me right, 3,000, and only 400 of them are venomous. Although some venomous snakes, such as rattlesnakes, don't particularly like to bite people, they would really rather just be left alone. In that story you're telling about snakes, you find another big problem. You state that there's only a small variety of food snakes eat, but really there's a lot more variety than you may think. For one, snakes eat many different things, including insects, small birds, and even large animals due to their overwhelming species count. This leads to also using a lot of different killing tactics to find and eat their prey, although snakes can survive for months between meals. A snake's senses are also a very important asset to a snake's life and living conditions. For example, a snake's smell is not only their sharpest sense, but is what helps them catch and eat their prey. Their tongues aid their sense of smell, so when a snake is flicking its tongue in and out, it is only smelling something in the air. A snake's eyesight is also very important, although snakes don't have eyelids, so when they seem to be staring into space, they may just be sleeping. Snakes also don't have vocal cords, hence why they don't make a particular sound, but hissing seems to be an exception. Now that you know a snake's actual intentions, I hope that in your mind they aren't as scary as they may seem. Now back to you in the studio.
Wow, I didn't know there are so many types of snakes.
Next up, we have Brandon talking about Justin Jefferson.
Thank you, Caleb. Justin Jefferson is a football player with the Minnesota Vikings. He is one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League.
Justin Jefferson's life was interesting even before he joined the NFL. Justin is 23 years old. He was born in St. Rose, Louisiana in 1999. He has two brothers, Jordan and Ricky. His parents are John and Ellen Jefferson. Jefferson played great football in college. In college, Justin played for Louisiana State University. He was an outstanding wide receiver during his days at the university. He joined LSU in 2017 to 2018. Justin's NFL record was interesting. He led the leagues in receptions with 128 and 1,809 receiving yards. He is the youngest player in history to do so. He has 8 touchdowns in his career. He has 8 receiving touchdowns, and he joined the NFL in 2020. People should care and be aware of Justin Jefferson. He is a terrific football player. I enjoy learning about Justin Jefferson. He is so awesome to read about. Thank you, Caleb and Soraya. Back to the studio.
Wow, I didn't know Justin Jefferson joined the NFL in 2020.
Next up, we have Gianna talking about pufferfish.
Thank you, Soraya. Have you heard of pufferfish? They are poisonous tropical fish. They eat mostly invertebrates and algae. They even eat clams, mussels, and shellfish. They break the shells with their beak. Most pufferfish eat once a day. Sharks mostly prey pufferfish, so they must protect themselves while hunting for their food. In the ocean, there are many pufferfish. They live in the tropical and subtropical oceans. Some pufferfish are rare and hard to find. In the world, there are many different types of pufferfish. There are more than 120 pufferfish types. Their appearances are always different. Their colors can be gray, yellow, blue, white, and brown. They can grow from 1 inch to 2 feet long. Some of them have colors and prints to blend into the environment. In conclusion, pufferfish are great. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many types of pufferfish.
Next up, we have Emery talking about Simone Biles.
Thank you, Caleb. Simone Biles is a very good gymnast, and if you were wondering, she also won the Olympics 7 times. First, Simone has 3 siblings. Their names are Adria, Ron Biles Jr., and Ashley Biles. Simone grew up in Spring, Texas with her siblings and her grandparents. Simone got adopted by her grandparents when she was really young. Ashley, Adria, and Ron also got adopted by her grandparents. Their mom couldn't take care of them because she got really sick. Simone started gymnastics when she was 6. Her uncle took her to a gymnastics gym and he was teaching her how to do a front flip, and she tried it. One of the coaches saw her and they thought she was really good, so they invited her up to a high level. That was level 5. Simone was in the Olympics and she has 7 Olympic medals. She won a gold medal in the Olympics in 2010 for her floor routine. She has continued to compete. By 2023, she has won over 32 medals in the Olympics and the World Championships. And if you're a gymnast, I hope one day you can be like her. Now back to you in the
I had no clue she won so many medals.
Next up is Vivian talking about color theory.
Arigato, Soraya. In art, colors are one of the basic elements and often is one of the things we learn. Every child that is enrolled into an elementary school learns the basics of color theory. The basics of color theory are known as the primary colors, but this knowledge is one part of a much larger field outside of elementary classrooms. New inventions are becoming part of history. I didn't know about color theory until a year ago, so don't worry if you never heard of it before. I won't be doing this topic if somebody didn't invent it. So, what's the history behind color theory? Colors weren't always around as you might have assumed. Blue has been around since ancient Egypt. That you may already know. Sir Isaac Newton was first to develop the first circular diagram of colors 1666. He experimented with light by cutting pinholes window shade to lend sunlight. It showed up onto his wall, of course, but when refracted by a prism, it turned into an oblong area with a rainbow of colors. People always believed light was just pure light, nothing else. Due to this belief, the subject was dropped because it was still very controversial whether colors actually existed, until the 18th century. Since Newton did further experiments to prove light wasn't just pure light, he wrote a book about it. That's what caught people's attention. A century later, more books about color theory came popping up. Some of the first stepping stone resources came from Optics by Newton, The Theory of Colors by German poet Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and Law of Simultaneous Color Contrast by French chemist Miguel Eugene Chevreul. That was a mouthful. I gave these people full credit because they're considered as the founding documentarians about my topic. I guess we learn something new every day, huh? Each child has been asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? If anyone plans to work a job that involves visual arts, pay attention to what I'm about to say. Colors are an invitation to a whole new world that's been right in front of us. People see colors everywhere in the world, including jobs. Some jobs, like an animation director or painter, will learn by the time they leave school that everything can be black and white. Kids will mature to adults and soon learn by experience that everything needs a little color. Individuals and companies that work with visual arts will need to understand the concept of colors. It doesn't matter if it's some big-time company or small business. In order to be a successful business, it must be pleasing to your eye. Customers aren't going to buy products that look muddy or unpleasant to them. It's important to have a wide variety of colors to please our consumers' eyes. Going back to what I said earlier, children contemplate or think about jobs at a young age. For anyone who wants to work in a career with visual arts but don't know what jobs have that, I'll list them. An artist comes to mind, but it's much more than that, such as an architect, a critic, fashion designers for those who like shopping and clothes, an illustrator, photographer, sculptor, or a tattoo artist. There's lots more, but just go find one for you. Sadly, adulthood is always a year closer, so it's important to know what you want. If you're passionate about things you create, a career in visual arts might be for you. As we know, primary colors are a color wheel. Color palettes are an essential part of pleasing anyone's eyes, but there's more than what we know now. We all know the primary colors you got secondary, tertiary, and so on. These are the basics for a color wheel people use. However, there's different hues, tints, tones, and shades people use and see. Hues are a pure color, like the primary colors. To shade a hue, add black to a pure color. To tint it, add a white. And to tone a hue, add gray to it. Getting back to the job section, painters use RYB. Red, yellow, and blue are known as primary colors. Though there are different sets of primary colors, depending on the mixing model, RYB is the most common. RYB is an example of a subtractive color model. What are subtractive color models? Subtractive mixing is when inks, colorants, or pigments form new colors by absorbing some part of the visible spectrum. Even after those artists graduate from school, they use red, yellow, and blue as their primary colors. However, later scholars will switch to RGB and CMY instead of RYB. CMY stands for cyan, magenta, or yellow. This is also an example of a subtractive color model. They're typically used in color printing. CMYK is also the name for the printing process itself, with the K standing for key ink. Key ink is typically used as a black achieved by mixing the three primaries as they are grayer. This purpose is for pulling out the artistic details you might have not noticed before. And the last model that is commonly used is RGB. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. This is an example of an additive color model. Additive color models start with the darkest hues and use different light colors to achieve white. This is most commonly used for computer or television screens. Photographers are quite familiar with RGB and CMYK. Editing images to post online requires primaries red, green, and blue. Then they switch to CMYK when printing a color profile. But why is color so important to our everyday lives? To make our lives less dull. In life, we switch our preferences to match our personalities, as to do the colors we choose. There won't be any jobs involving visual arts if it weren't for Isaac Newton and the rest of the people I spoke about. In simple tones, if you didn't understand it, color theory is how we have perceived different hues artists mix and blend a wide variety of colors to please the eye. Understanding the principles of color will make anyone successful in an art career. If anyone's interested in a new art hobby or to pursue something that involves visual arts, my hope is that you don't give up on it. Continue to practice. I'm Vivian, and I'm signing out.
Wow, I didn't know Sir Isaac Newton was the first to develop the first circular diagram of colors in 1666.
Next up, we have ours truly, Soraya, talking about the ocean.
Thank you, Caleb. The ocean is an amazing and beautiful place, but sadly a lot of people don't know that. The ocean is a very interesting place, yet the most unexplored place on Earth. The ocean is also terribly polluted with glass, bottles, bags, plastic, and so much more horrible items. Here are some things that are amazing about the ocean. The ocean is home to 94% of all life on Earth. The ocean is an amazing and big living space for all sea creatures. Did you know that there are 2,000 kinds of starfish? Did you also know that there are 240,000 species of sea creatures in the ocean? The ocean is home to the world's largest living structures. A lot of the ocean is amazing, and that's why people go scuba diving to explore and relax. People go swimming in the ocean, and dogs even do too. I love going to the ocean and swimming because it's calming, and the ocean can always be a place to release your stress. The ocean holds about 96.5% of all Earth's water. That's a volume of 320 million cubic miles. The ocean has a lot of saltwater creatures, plants, lighthouses, rocks, plastic, glass, and so much more. The ocean is full of wonderful things and creatures. Over the years, people have learned more and more about the ocean and never to take it for granted. The ocean can be an amazing place to sit in the sand, think, read, sing, or do anything that you want to do with friends, family, or all by yourself. So learning about the ocean is a fun and interesting thing to do. Saying that you should never take the ocean or the stuff we have for granted. Thank you, Caleb. Now back to you in the studio.
Wow, I didn't know the ocean holds about 96.5% of all world's water.
Last we have Caleb talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Thanks, Charette. I'm talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, what he does for fun. He does very interesting things like wrestling and making movies. He's a movie producer, so he makes many movies. He also works as a businessman. Dwayne does the most entertaining stuff like wrestling people to make money. His coach was his dad, Rocky Johnson. He wrestled Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin. He's really good at it, and that's why he started wrestling. He fights for fun to make money and for entertainment. Dwayne loves making movies, so he puts a lot of effort into his movies. Here are some of them: Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, Jumanji, The Skyscraper, and so much more. He produces movies for people so he can make money. He makes a lot of money making movies. He's made $124 million in the time he's been working in movies. Dwayne makes businesses for people to buy goods. His business name is $7 Productions. He makes a lot of money being a businessman. The reason why he became a businessman was to help people who need goods. He made a charity fountain. Is Dwayne cool, yes or no? Personally, I think he's a good person in general because he does crazy things. He does a lot of things that people can't do on a daily basis. Back to you in the studio.
That's all for MT News. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to Channel 17 News. I'm Lily and this is Davin.
Today we have Suri, Kara, Jaden, Axel, Macy, Sam, Lily, and myself. First off, we have Suri talking about South Korea.
Thank you, Davin. South Koreans have lives that are similar to and different to Americans. South Korean history is very interesting. There were many wars that happened with many countries throughout history. South Korea's language is very important, just like other countries, but mainly to show their history and in general. South Korean food has many flavors, but the most popular is spicy and sweet. South Korea's history was kind of gruesome. South Korea got attacked by China, Japan, North Korea, and many other countries. China invaded South Korea and North Korea in 1950. The war was stopped by US and ROK soldiers. Japan invaded South Korea in 1952. Japan invaded because it was a part of Japan's imperialist goals. North Korea wanted to conquer South Korea, so the soldiers invaded South Korea. The war in Korea started in 1950. South Korea was invaded 900 times throughout the years. History is very interesting and very gruesome to learn about. Food in South Korea is very delicious. There are many genres and flavors, but the most popular is spice. Some examples for the food are kimchi, buldak, tteokbokki, and jampong. I promise it is very delicious. In South Korea, noodles are very common, such as in ramen noodles, jampong, black bean noodles, and more. I recommend eating Shin ramen. It is one of my favorite noodles. Restaurants, cafes, shops all have food or drinks. If you're in South Korea, there are markets with almost everything. Food is the main part of the markets. The food is delicious, and in my opinion, I love South Korean food, and I think it's the best. Korean language is very important in all countries, and people say Korean is one of the hardest languages. Most of the words are taken from the Chinese language. Some words in Korean sound the same as other Chinese words, such as Xichang and Xijang. Korean has a lot of words that sound the same, but are actually not, such as sagwa, apple, apology, noon, eye, snow. In the Korean language, there are two counting systems. One is called the native number system for general counting. The other is called Shino Korean number system to use for ages, time, etc. There are a lot of facts about the Korean language, but these are some of them to use. There are history, food, and language in what we talked about, but there are so much more. South Korea is an interesting place if you want to travel to a foreign country. If you want to or need to travel to South Korea, you might need to know these things. After knowing this information, you might know what to do while being in South Korea. Back to you, Davin and Lily in the studio.
Wow, I never knew that South Korea was invaded so many times in 2 millenniums. Next, we have Kara talking about Mount Everest.
Thank you, Lily. Most people have probably heard of Mount Everest, but I'm going to tell you some facts you probably didn't know.
My first topic is about weather. The weather on Everest is minus 100 degrees. That's really cold, and without proper clothing, you could die from how cold it is. Mount Everest has a lot of snow and ice because the temperatures are so low. The winds on Everest are so strong that they're like hurricanes. It is very hard to climb Mount Everest, but I won't try to stop you from climbing it. The next topic I'm going to talk about is the appearance on Everest when you're far from the mountain. The highest point on Everest is 29,032 feet. That's really tall. Mount Everest is higher than most types of clouds, but not all. Mount Everest colors, most common colors seen on Everest are white, blue, brown, and even orange. But the most common color on Everest is blue. Mount Everest is covered with snow, ice, and rocks. You probably have heard of the colors on Everest, but I bet you didn't know the exact height of the mountain. Next, I'm going to be telling you how Everest was formed and discovered. Everest was made by the tectonic plate movement. The tectonic plate movement is the heat from radioactive process within the planet's interior causing the plates to move. Mount Everest was unknown to the Western humankind until 1852, when the surveyors discovered it during the ongoing British government's charting of India. Mount Everest was made up of multiple layers of rock folded back on themselves. If it wasn't for all the rocks and all the other stuff that formed in the mountain, hikers would not be able to climb a mountain that's 29,032 feet. These are some facts about Everest, but there's still so much more. I hope you learned something you didn't know before. Thank you for listening to my facts about Mount Everest. Now back to you in the studio.
The highest point on Mount Everest is 29,032 feet. I had no idea. That's so high. Now we have Jaden with Henry VIII.
Thank you, Devin. I'm going to talk about the king that got married 6 different times and was also known as the worst monarch in history. His name is Henry VIII. He ruled over England in the 1500s. I'm going to talk about his need of a male heir, his 6 wives and the way he treated them, and his life early on. First, I will tell you about Henry VIII's life as a second-born. Since he was the second-born, he was not the heir to the throne. His brother died when Henry was 10, which meant he was now the heir to the throne. But 7 years later, his brother's widow would be in the picture. 7 years later, a few days before his 18th birthday, he married Catherine of Aragon, his brother's widow. The reason this matters is because this affected his life drastically. In Henry's 55 years of living, he had 6 wives. His goal was to have a male heir with one of his wives. He divorced one of his wives because he wasn't happy with her. He beheaded 2 of his wives after he only had a daughter with them and not a son. One died shortly after she gave birth to his son. This matters because each and every wife changed him. Next, I will tell you about the heir to the throne. The heirs to the throne. Edward, his last child, became king at 9 and died shortly after. Mary, his firstborn, became queen at 37. His second child ruled over England for 41 years. Coincidentally, she was one of the best monarchs of all time, even though her father was the worst. It matters because after he died, they all ruled over England at different times. So basically, Henry VIII is now famous just because he had 6 wives with the goal of male heir. He treated his wives very poorly. This matters because people need to not be like him. Even though he was the worst king, he was still one of the most famous. Back to you at the studio.
Wow, I never knew he had 6 wives. Now we have Axel reading about John Madden.
Thank you, Lily. John Madden is an iconic NFL figure, and that's why I will talk about him today. Madden had a great personality and loved the game of football. The things we will be talking about is Madden's pre-NFL life, his post-NFL life, and his life as a commentator. First thing we will talk about is John Madden's pre-NFL life. Madden was born in Dale City, California, and from a young age, Madden's father encouraged him to do sports. In high school and college, Madden was a standout offensive and defensive lineman. The second thing we will talk about is Madden's NFL life. Madden was drafted into the NFL by the Philadelphia Eagles in 1958, but a knee injury made it so that he couldn't play. So Madden went to coach at Hancock Junior College for 3 years, then got hired by Al Davis as the Las Vegas Raiders linebacker coach. Then, 2 years later, Madden was promoted to the head coach position at the age of just 32. In his first season with the Raiders, they went 12-1-1 and lost in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs. Madden finally won a Super Bowl in 1976. Madden stepped away from the Rays in 1978. Though Madden was a great coach and never had a losing record, it was his next career that really brought him fame. John Madden was not only an NFL coach, but he was also an NFL commentator. John Madden was partnered up with Pat Summerall on Fox and became a broadcasting duo from the late 1980s to the early 2000s. At first, John Madden worked at CBS, then switched to Fox. Then Madden worked his final Super Bowl. That Super Bowl is the first ever Super Bowl Tom Brady ever won. As you can see, John Madden was one of the greatest NFL commentators ever. John Madden was a great NFL figure, even though he passed away at 81 years old. His name will always be remembered. I hope you learned something new. Now back to you guys in the studio.
He never had a losing record. He must have been a really good coach. Next, we have Macy to tell us about Jenna Ortega.
Thank you, Davin. I'm going to be telling you about the actress Jenna Ortega. One of the things I will tell you about is her fascinating early life. I will also tell you what she's known for, which is her acting career. And to end it all off, I'll tell you some fun facts. Jenna is an amazing actor, and everyone should know her name and like her. Jenna was born in Coachella Valley, California, and grew up on a farm. She grew up with 6 siblings. She was the 4th of 6 siblings, making her one of the middles. Jenna started her acting career at just 9 years old when her mom posted a video of her on Facebook. Wow, Jenna sure has an interesting early life. I never knew that a popular actor like Jenna grew up on a farm. We all know Jenna for her acting, but let's break it down and tell you her TV shows and movies she's in. Jenna starred in Wednesday, Stuck in the Middle, Scream, The Fallout, Richie Rich, and The Babysitter. And those are only a few movies and shows she's in. Jenna was the voice of Isabel and Eleanor of Avalor. This makes her the first Latina princess in a movie. If we ever meet her, we'll all know her for her acting, but truly her real dream is to be a director. Now that I told you the important stuff, let's talk about her fun facts. Did you know that Jenna's background is Mexican and Puerto Rican? Her father is Mexican, her mother is Mexican and Puerto Rican. Jenna is a huge Disney girl, and in 2012, her dream came true when a director offered her to be a princess in a new movie. There is a lot to learn about Jenna Ortega. She has lots of shows and movies, like her most current TV show, Wednesday. She is really popular, but what makes her amazing is she's kind and caring. This is important because Jenna isn't just an actor. She cares about her family and her friends and isn't just thinking about herself. You should care because she supports everyone in their dreams, and she wasn't that rich growing up, so she wasn't spoiled. Now back to you in the studio, Davin.
Cool. She starred in Wednesday. That's so interesting. Next, we have Sam with his information about Patrick Mahomes.
Thank you, Lily. Patrick Mahomes has got a lot of personality and different traits that make him a good football player. He was born on September 17, 1995. He is 27 years old, and he was born in Tyler, Texas. He is also 6 feet tall and 230 pounds. Coming up, you will learn about his football career, his hobbies, and life outside of football, and how he helps the community. He plays on the Kansas City Chiefs and his number is 15. He was drafted 15th by Kansas City in the first round. He was drafted in the 2017 NFL draft. He is a quarterback and throws right-handed. He has been in and won 2 Super Bowls. One was in Arizona and the other was in Florida. On top of that, he also has 592 touchdowns and 5,250 yards. He is the second best quarterback in history. Outside of football, Patrick Mahomes likes ketchup, collects sneakers, and is pretty good at Pong. He also has a wife named Brittany. He also has 2 kids named Sterling and Bronze. He likes to eat steak, mac and cheese, and a Thanksgiving turkey. Patrick Mahomes does a lot to help the community. He created the Mahomes Foundation. The Mahomes Foundation raises money to be donated to sick children. The money he donates also is used to help improve the treatment sick children are getting. It is his way to give back to the community. So now I hope that you now know he is not only a good football player, but now know more about Patrick Mahomes himself better. He is a very good football player, and he also makes a ton of money. That's why we all love Patrick Mahomes. Back to the studio.
I never knew he was number 15. That's a lucky number. Next, we have my fellow anchor, Lily, talking about Bob Ross.
Thank you, Davin. Have you ever heard of Bob Ross? If so, you will learn something new about him, and if not, you will after this. You will learn about his early life, his painting show, and just some fun facts. He is an amazing painter. Bob Ross is really cool and did way more than just painting. Bob Ross's real name is Robert Norman Ross. He was born on October 29th, 1942. He was born in Daytona Beach, Florida. He grew up in Orlando, Florida. He was in the Air Force at age 18, stationed in Alaska in the early 1960s. While stationed in Alaska, he took his first painting class at an organizational club in the early 1960s. Bob Ross had a painting show, and I will tell you all about it. It is called The Joy of Painting. On his show, he makes 3 copies of each painting, the first created off-camera and used as a reference for the one on his show. His show aired from 1983 to 1994, which is the year he died. In each episode, he walks through a landscape painting most of the scenery from Alaska, where he's stationed for the Air Force for most of his career. When you get home, you should watch and follow along with his paintings. Lastly, I will tell you some fun facts about Bob Ross. During his early life, he came across lots of hurt animals, which he cared for after taking them home. He also added many little paintings on his show. Bob Ross was missing part of his left index finger due to a childhood woodworking incident. This never bothered him while painting because he held the palette with his hand. Bob Ross disliked drawing people. Ross's paintings often show wooden forests and big mountains as well as clear lakes and snow. Ross included log cabins but put no smoke to show that it was uninhabited. Bob Ross died on July 4, 1994, sadly from lymphoma. Lymphoma may have been caused due to his exposure to paint and high solvents of benzene and ethylbenzene. Those are some facts about Bob Ross. I hope you learned something new about the famous painter Bob Ross. Whether he surprised you with his early life or with some fun facts, I hope you got some new information to share with your family and friends. And as Bob Ross would say, there are no mistakes, just happy errors. Now back to the studio.
He had part of his index finger gone? That's so interesting.
Last but not least is Davin talking about Connor McDavid.
Hi, my name is Davin and I play hockey. I will be talking about player Connor McDavid from the NHL. Connor McDavid has scored 100 goals in 53 games in one season. He started playing hockey when he was 4 and won 4 championships when he was 6. He also won many awards to show that he is special. Here are some awesome facts about Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid's career started when he was 4 and started to play hockey. With his dad as his coach, he won 4 championships when he was 6. Later, when he was 15, he went into the Ontario Hockey League and was positioned as captain. This is an important role that does the face-off and has to be good at offense, defense, scoring, and teamwork. Connor McDavid is great at all of that. When Connor McDavid reached the National Hockey League, he got drafted into the Edmonton Oilers with an $100 million contract. This made him the highest paid hockey player of all time. He also scored 100 goals in 53 games and is positioned captain with the Edmonton Oilers. Did you know Connor McDavid also won many awards, honors, and trophies like Rookie of the Month in the NHL? He also won scoring leader for scoring the most in the International Ice Hockey Federation and the Red Tilson Trophy for being the most outstanding player. Connor McDavid is a great hockey player because he played with kids older than him when he was young, scored 100 goals in one season and was positioned captain, won 4 championships when he was young, and won so many awards throughout his hockey career. Thank you for listening, and back to Lily in the studio.
Wow, I cannot believe he started playing so young at age 4. That's all for Channel 17 News. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to the 210 News. Hi, I'm Stella.
Greetings, I'm Sam.
Today we will be discussing phenomenal topics with my partner Sam and our coworkers Emma, Hadley, Keaton, Kylie, Luciana, and Michael. First we have Michael telling us about Mr. Football himself, also known as Stefon Diggs.
Thank you, Stella. In this essay, I will be talking about Stefon Diggs on the Buffalo Bills. Stefon Diggs is a receiver on the Buffalo Bills. He wears number 14. I will be talking about his career stats, early life, and big achievements. First, I will be talking about Stefon Diggs' early life and what he played and did before the NFL. He was born on November 29, 1993. He was born in Gaithersburg, Maryland. He played football and ran track at Council High School in Maryland. He went to college at the University of Maryland and he got 810 yards in that time. In my second topic, I will be writing about Stefon Diggs' big achievements and what he played and did when he played football. In Stefon Diggs' senior year of college, people named him MVP of the U.S. Army All-American Junior Combine in 2011 and was invited to play in 2012 again. In track and field, Diggs competed as a sprinter. For my last topic, I will be talking about Stefon Diggs' career stats in the NFL. He had 8,812 yards in his career, 59 touchdowns, and he made it to 2 Pro Bowls and 1 All-Pro. This is his 9th year in the NFL. He played 5 years with the Minnesota Vikings and 4 years with the Buffalo Bills. He averages 13 yards a carry and averages 83 yards a game. His season with the most yards on the Vikings was in 2019 when he got 1,130 yards. That was all about Stefon Diggs, and now I hope you know more about him like you did before. Back to the studio.
Oh wow, I didn't know he was named MVP.
Yeah, cool. Next is Luciana informing us about the Olympics.
Thank you. I'm going to be telling you about the Olympics. The first Olympic Games were held in Greece. Did you know that it lasted 6 months? Now they just last 17 days. The Olympics were part of a festival that celebrated the Greek god Zeus. He was the god of sky and weather. The Games were in 776 BC. Did you know that the Olympics were canceled in 393 AD? It didn't come back for over 1,500 years. It was canceled because a Roman ruler banned it because of the religious element of the celebration. Luckily, Baron Perry de Coubertin brought it back in 1896. Now here are some fun facts about the Olympics. Did you know that artists used to compete in the Olympics? They competed for medals and created works of art. The Olympic medals used to be made of solid gold. Did you know that the Olympic torch has gone to many places, including on planes, underwater, on Mount Everest, and in space? This is just some information on the Olympics. The Olympics is both an interesting and fascinating topic. Now back to you in the studio.
Thank God Baron brought them back.
Okay, then. Next is Kylie informing us about rats.
Thank you, Sam. Also, did you know that rats are omnivores? This means that rats eat both plants and meat. Another thing about rats is that there are 56 known species of rats. This means that there could be thousands of different species of rats that we don't know about. Did you also know about rats, whether they're wild or pets, have very interesting diets? There's also a very wide variety of rat types. Some rats can have spots while others can have stripes. The species of rat is what changes the appearance of the rodent. Back on the species of rats, did you know that the most common type of rat is the brown rat? Also, the most dangerous type of rat is the black rat, because these rats carry diseases causing plague pathogens through their bites, scratches, and food contaminations. The least dangerous type of rat is the Dumbo rat, because these rats are least likely to get diseases, which is why these rats are the most common type of rat to be kept as pets. In conclusion, there are many different types of rats, and some make better pets than others. And the next thing about rats is their diet, which is many different things like farm grains, chicken seeds, and cheese. Rats can also eat meat. They can go into the water to catch fish, get into chicken coops and eat the eggs, and hunt chickens. They'll go after baby chickens and the eggs, but they won't go after adult chickens. When the rats are kept as pets, they will eat things like rat food, fruits, and veggies. In the end, rats have very interesting diets in the wild. Back to the rat appearance, there are about 6 to 8 different colors that rats can be like brown, black, gray, white, ginger, and beige. Also, did you know that some rats with different appearances will need special care, like the Siamese rat? There's also a hairless, Burmese, Rex, Dumbo, and Dalmatian rats. Knowing what type of rat you have as a pet or what you find in your house will be important to know what the rat needs. If you're asking why this topic is important, it's because rats can be very misunderstood animals that should get the same respect as other pets and rodents. Also, you should care because rats are very special animals that are very different from other animals. Make sure you remember the information because the next time you see a rat, you can use the information to make sure you or the rat does not get harmed. Thank you, and back to the studio.
Wow.
That's a lot of rats. Next is Keaton speaking about animation.
Thank you, Sam. An animation is what a cartoon or cutscene is. We will talk about facts about animation, Disney facts, and animation tips. Animation is a famous activity. Now let's talk about it. First, I'll talk about animation facts. Most animation uses 15 frames per second because it makes it too smooth but not too smooth. You can animate using stop motion. Animation takes a while. It can take months and months. Now let's get on to the next topic about animation. Next, I'll talk about some Disney facts because everybody likes Disney. Mickey Mouse is actually a ripoff of another character called Oswald. The name for the Pixar lamp is Luxo Jr. Disney lost an Oscar award because of another movie called Happy Feet, but Happy Feet wasn't an animation, it was a motion picture movie. Those are some facts about Disney. Finally, here are some animation tips. You need a lot of equipment to create animations, such as a drawing pen, a computer with an animation software, a drawing tablet, and a drawing glove. An animation degree in college takes 4 years. Animators make $76,853 on average. That's a lot of money. If you become an animator, that's great. It seems fun. And that was some facts and tips about animation. Now back to Sam and Stella.
Cool, right, Stella?
Yeah, but I still can't believe Mickey Mouse is a ripoff. Next is Hadley discussing Suni Lee.
Thanks, Stella. Sunisa Suni Lee is an Olympic gymnast who brought home many medals. Suni's mom and stepdad met when she was 2 and left Laos during the Vietnam War. She was born on March 9, 2003 in St. Paul, Minnesota. Suni has two sisters, Cheyenne and Evian. She also has three brothers, Lucky, Noah, and Justin. Suni liked to flip and tumble, so her parents signed her and her sister Evian up for gymnastics when Suni was 6. She started competing when she was young. Her parents didn't have enough money to buy a bounce beam, so her father built one. When she was 14, she got a scholarship to Auburn University. In 2019, Suni's dad, John Lee, fell off a ladder. He was paralyzed from the neck down and couldn't walk. He had to use a wheelchair to get around. He got hurt 2 days before Suni competed in the 2019 National Championships. She didn't want to go, but her dad encouraged her to, and she did. She got gold on the even bars and silver all around. The competition was to see who was the best overall gymnast. She wanted to compete in the 2020 Olympics, but they were delayed because of COVID. Gyms were closed, so she practiced at her house. While she was practicing, she fell and fractured her left ankle. Once she was healed, she tried out for the Olympic team, and she ended up making it. Just weeks after she made the team, she went to Tokyo, Japan to compete in the 2020 Olympic Games. But because she fractured her ankle, her coaches changed her floor routine the day of the competition. She won floor, and in her own words, she said, "I didn't even think that I could be competing for a gold medal. I was convinced I'd compete for a silver medal. To be here is just crazy to me." Suni was very celebrated when she got back from the Olympics. St. Paul held a parade in her honor. After she competed, she went to Auburn University. She joined Auburn Gymnastics just weeks after the Olympics. At Auburn Gymnastics, her coach would be a twin of her old coach. Eventually, Suni left college to practice for the 2024 Olympics. Suni is courageous and successful in gymnastics. She worked really hard to get where she is now. She left college and will hopefully go to the 2024 Olympics. Now back to the studio.
She got a scholarship at 14? Lucky.
That's not luck. That was skill.
Now we have Emma informing us about albino animals.
Thank you, Sam. Have you ever seen an animal with red eyes? If you have, the animal's fur, feathers, or scales are probably white. That is an albino animal, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I will talk about the risks they have to take that can sometimes be deadly. I will also talk more about their appearance. Lastly, I will show you a trick to know if the animal is albino. Now here they are. As I said before, albino animals face risks that I am going to tell you about. One risk is that albino animals face poor eyesight. This affects them because a predator could sneak up on them and have them for a meal. Another risk is they are prone to sunburn. Being prone to sunburn means that they are at a very high risk of getting badly burned. If an albino animal gets badly burned, they can develop a form of cancer, and most of the time they can't get help and eventually die. The next risk is they often can't reproduce. This can be a problem because the numbers of animals could go down. The last risk is they often get captured and sold for their rarity. This can be a problem for the same reason as the last risk. Now that I have told you the risks that albino animals face, you will now know that albino animals don't have an easy life. Now I'm going to tell you about an albino animal's appearance. There is more to their appearance than you think. As you know, albino animals are white. They get that color because of their missing melanin. Melanin is the dark brown and black pigment that makes your hair, skin, and eyes the color they are. So because albino animals don't have melanin, that's what makes them white. As I said about their missing melanin, they don't have enough melanin for their eyes to be normal colors, so that is why their eyes are wild colors. Their eyes can be red, pink, or blue. Some animals are white, but are all of them albino? I am now going to tell you how to identify an albino animal. One way is to see if they have white fur, feathers, or scales. This may seem like a simple question, but it is important. Another way to identify them is their eyes. This is because, as I said, they have wild colored eyes like red, pink, and blue. The last way is you need to check if they stand out from the other animals in their family. This doesn't always work, but it can be helpful. Now that you've learned how to identify an albino animal, hopefully you will use my tips. I chose to talk about albino animals because they are unique, rare, and special. They face risks that can be deadly and have an amazing appearance, and I have shown you a tip to find out if an animal is albino. So since albino animals are rare, unique, and special, please protect the planet so these amazing animals can live on. Now back to you in the studio.
I thought only animals with rabies had red eyes.
Yeah, I guess not. Alright, Shaw, next it's your turn.
Thank you, Sam. Do you know who the famous singer and dancer Michael Jackson is? If you don't, you will learn about him right now. Michael was born on August 29th 1958 in Gary, Indiana. When Michael was almost 6 in 1964, he started singing with his 4 brothers, and their group name was Jackson 5. Whenever Michael or his brothers did something wrong, their dad would be very strict with them. Michael was also bullied and teased by many kids in his grade. Michael's childhood wasn't very fun, but he will still always remember it. Next, Michael has curly long hair and brown eyes. When he was a grown man, he was 5'9" with a face that had many surgeries. Since Michael had so much surgery, he got a skin disorder called vitiligo, which leaves white patches on his skin. Michael also wore a glove on his hand that he uses to cover his vitiligo. Michael didn't have such a great life, but he still kept singing and dancing. Lastly, Michael's best album was Thriller, and he sold it in 1982. He sang 147 songs in his music career before his death. Billie Jean is one of Michael's best songs ever written. Michael Jackson won 13 Grammy Awards, including 8 for the album Thriller. Michael had a long and popular career. In conclusion, Michael was a successful hip-hop star back in the day. This is important because Michael got a lot of hate because of his looks. If you don't know Michael, you just learned many facts about him. After learning this, you should go and search up Michael's music. Back to the studio.
147 songs? Well, hot diggity dog.
Okay, it's your turn, Sam.
Thank you. During the end of World War II, there was a battle called the Battle of Britain. I will be telling you about the beginning, middle, end, and outcome of this battle. In June 1940, Britain stood alone against the Nazis, but the country's new leader, Winston Churchill, ruled out peace dealing with Germany. Adolf Hitler had expected the British to seek a peace settlement after Germany's defeat of France in June 1940, but Britain was determined to fight on. To try to force Britain out of the war, Hitler ordered air attacks on the Royal Air Force airfields, and the Battle of Britain began July 10, 1940, until October 31st the same year. As a start to a planned invasion of England, the German Luftwaffe attacked the British coastal defenses, radar stations, and shipping. On August 24th, the attack was shifted to the Royal Air Force installations and aircraft factories in an effort to gain control over the air over South England. Failing to destroy the Royal Air Force, the Germans began the night bombing of London on September 7th with heavy night bombings of British towns. The Germans gradually gave up hope of invading England. Though heavily outnumbered, the Royal Air Force put up a gallant defense. Hitler explored options that would bring the war to a quick end and ordered his army to prepare for an invasion of Britain, codenamed Operation Sea Lion. But for the invasion to have any chance of success, the Germans needed to first secure control over the skies of southern England and remove the threat posed by the Royal Air Force. A sustained air assault on Britain would achieve the decisive victory needed to make Sea Lion a possibility. However, it didn't work. The Germans lost 2,662 men, and Britain lost 1,542 men. The Battle of Britain was the first major war failure of the Germans in World War II, and it hurt Hitler's plan to force Britain to accept peace or face invasion. All in all, the Battle of Britain was a war to go down in history. Thank you for your time. Back to you, Stella.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that many men died. That's so sad.
Yes, it is, and that's the end of our show.
Thanks for watching the 210 News.